Okay.
There are 2 Dan Debenhams. When I moved back to Utah, I quickly found out there were 2 Dan Debenhams, and I was arrested, and I kept going, who is this other Dan Debenham? There was a Dan, middle initial D Debenham. If you Google me, he actually comes up most of the time for felony arrest warrants. I can't tell you the problems it's caused. So I am Dan J. I am Dan J, middle initial J, Debenham. Last name is spelled Debenham, Debenham. And then you can see Troy and Nicole. And I am Troy and Nicole are Team Red on season 3 of Relative Race. I'm a partner in Lensworks Productions. I'm the executive producer of Relative Race, and I'm the host of Relative Race.
Wears lots of hats.
So
he's got big shoulders.
Fire away. What can we do for you guys?
What can you tell us about your story? What can you tell us about your story?
You can tell
What are you
your
allowed
backstory.
to tell us about your story?
Yeah, absolutely. When you get up in age, as I do, sometimes you get concerned about your medical background, and the only way to get tipped off of that is you get lots of tests and ask your family what their medical history is. Well, from age 0 to 3, I lost contact with my biological father. So
this was a journey trying to connect with that side of his family, find out if he was still an only child.
Yep.
And
I was really excited to have siblings because I'm an only child, so I was kind of excited to have siblings. You know, have brothers, have sisters. That was kind of cool. Between us, we got 4 kids, so apparently I wanted a big family and I got one. And I was going to say, hey, maybe it's a little bit bigger. So
where are y'all from?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
They were greatly affected. You probably surmised from our session up there that the race, which we filmed the first 2 weeks of September, was right in the middle of the hurricane, and their home was, they were devastated. And they couldn't contact people because they were on the race. So you will see how the natural disasters of this past fall in a very real way affected the show. And it caused, I hate to say it so bluntly, but it's true. It caused a lot of drama on the show. And the logistical problems, you can't believe what was happening behind the scenes, just trying to figure out how to keep filming and get to a relative. It was very challenging. It was very challenging, but it makes for a very interesting season of Relatives. At least the first few days.
So how does the camera work? You guys have a car camera?
We have several cameras in the car.
The car is actually here, so you have to go look at the car.
Yes, there's a
Our
camera.
cameras are here, wired
Yes.
up.
Yeah, they're here. They're wired up.
You have a vehicle that's in front of you and a vehicle that's behind you that also has cameras. And then you have 2 camera guys that have several cameras, and you are mic'd up from the time you wake up till right before you go to bed.
And they hear everything.
And they have
So there are no personal conversations going on.
They actually have one more camera, which they actually run themselves. So they have their own camera as well. Well, they even do a little bit during the day sometimes that we sprinkle in there.
So there are lots of cameras, lots of
So you don't really mind that I'm filming you guys?
No, we so missed it. We missed it. No, yeah. So not at all. Actually, Nicole mentioned this earlier. Is when we got home, it was never mind the house was underwater, but that's another story. But when we got home, it was like
We missed having our crew.
We're missing
we
something.
We were very used to the guys. Our crew was so amazing. That we got home and felt like we left somebody at the airport.
We met Jamie, right?
Yeah,
Jamie. Oh yeah, Jamie.
Andrew and Dalton and Rachel. So it was cool. So we're still in touch with everybody. So we made more friends, not to include the family that we met, but we're in touch with everybody that we came in contact with the show still today. Even as soon as before we came up to here, it's conversations. And thank God we have social media and things of that nature to connect, which we are, restricted to do certain things until all the seasons are done. But I can tell you that it was not only do we meet friends at Lenswork and make home lifetime friends. Dan graciously opened up his house, come hang out, you know, and just he
so
has a
sweet.
passion
I
about
want
this.
them- I want them to
He
come.
has a passion
I
about
want
it.
them to be part of my family.
Yeah, so
They just
every
fall in love with
team,
this people.
every
So-
team is a part of the family.
So I know you can't tell me the details, but how does discovering something about your family change the way you define yourself?
I think that when you're searching for it, you're obviously looking for answers. And when you get those answers, they're not always the answers you think you wanted, but it definitely gives you a different outlook. This journey definitely taught us to appreciate our family that we do have, to invest in those relationships, to put down the cell phone, to turn off the TV, to actually spend that time and connect with your family and value that time. I think as a person, it gives you gives you a lot of answers either way.
Yeah, basically it changes your whole identity when you think about it. Me being an only child, you know, I'm like, do I have brothers and sisters? I could probably no longer call myself an only child. You know, it just changes your whole identity. You know, do I have cousins? Do I have brothers? You know, these are all questions that will change your identity when it's all said and done. And that's the biggest thing for me is, and I said it before we got on the show, that I'm looking forward to the journey. And when it's all said and done, my identity will be changed. And young guys will get to find out.
and again, it happens. I'm not, guys, I know you've heard me say this. It happens real early on in the episode Sunday night. Really early on, that you will see that you just go, no way.
I think that was our exact response.
He quoted us.
When the genealogy came in, I remember it because they do not come to me with every family connection for the 6 months prior. But in this case, they did. I remember sitting in my office so clearly, and 2 producers came running in and they said, Dan, we need to talk to you now. And I said, they go, no, you don't understand. We need to talk to you now. I said, okay. They sat down and said, what? And they told me what you're going to see in the first episode, and it comes very early on in the first episode, and I just went, no way. I just looked at them, I said, there's no way. And they said, yeah, way. And I said, double check it. And they came back and I said, okay, we're changing the way we're going to do episode 1. So we changed the way that we did episode 1 because of this discovery.
Very soon. There was one question that was asked, and I didn't get a chance to share. They asked if you're still in contact with our relatives, and the answer is 100% yes. We're in contact with them. In fact, we shared early on, before the show even got done, is that we plan on going back and repeating the journey, just so we can have more time with our relatives, because we're in a race. So every second counts. But we got to get up the next day, go find another relative, and there's never enough time. They always want enough time.
Hey, Clint, I have a really good online series for you. Clint. I have a really good online series. You should have just heard what they're planning on doing. I got a really good exclusive online series.
I have a feeling we're going to have more cameras and microphones in our face.
Well, you did miss
All
them.
your old friends.
You said you missed them.
We missed the crew, not necessarily the.
I would love to share with you what we're going to do, but I can't. But we are going to retrace it.
I mean, every time I watch the show, I think, how hard is that to meet these relatives? I have to get up and leave. Yeah.
It's hard. There's a lot of
Great
tears.
18 hours.
There's a lot of tears. And of course, you don't have any technology to say, give me your number. So I mean, we literally
Write on paper.
we're writing down like old school, writing down on paper your address, your phone number, and we're like, we'll contact you as soon as we can. And
My heart goes out every
Yeah.
time I watch the show.
I think I actually sat down and wrote that. My relative wrote me a letter. When's the last time y'all received a letter?
handwritten letter, yeah.
So my relative wrote me a letter when it was all said and done. And I'm like, I can't remember the last time I received a handwritten note. Well, because they couldn't contact me. And they already missed me, so they wrote me a letter.
And we did all exchange Christmas cards. We didn't exchange anything else, Dan, I promise.
I was like,
No, just Christmas cards. We're just like, hey, Merry Christmas, we're going to talk to you soon.
Are you going to take your children on this second journey?
that would be a logistical challenge. You think Dan had some logistical
We have one that's married that's in Ohio, and then we've got 2 that are in college and one that's finishing high school. So I don't know that they'll go with us, but there are certain new family members that when we make the trip to go see them, which we have a big thing planned with them, our kids are probably going to want to join on that because it'll be pretty substantial. So.
Yeah, we need to see this.
Yeah, there's
Yes, Clint.
Clint. Sorry, you'll be they're just saying we need to see this, Clint.
So what are the rules then? So can you say you're in contact with them, but we exchange Christmas cards and nothing else? So like, what are the rules with how you can
We probably broke
contact?
the rules of Christmas.
So technically they did. So the rules are very defined and they're very serious, and they sign a very serious contract. Quite frankly, I am astonished when people sign the contract. But they're also putting a lot of faith, I think, in the fact that, look, we're going to be okay. And if they go to our site or get to know us, it's like, look, this is really going to be a good experience. It's going to challenge you. It's going to challenge you mentally. It's going to challenge you emotionally. But as Nicole said, the time when they got to just rest and enjoy, and we hope we capture many of those moments, is after that, because it's a race and it's serious. And then when it's like, oh my gosh, this is the moment. I get to be with my family. There's no more clock. I mean, it's designed that way. It's designed to be, I bet my family, and now everything else goes away.
Think about what your household would be like if you had family dinner with no cell phones
Or TV.
or TV.
Nothing.
That's when we met our relatives. That's what it was. There's no technology.
We played so many games. It
We
was
played
fantastic.
games, family. We
We did.
sat around and talked, and so that was the reward. And you might think it's a penalty and a challenge not to have the phone and the map, but it served twofold. It served twofold. Number one, made the challenge with a flip phone and a paper map. That's a challenge. But when I challenge you. I challenge every one of you right now. But then when you got to your relatives and you didn't have those distractions, I mean, we didn't even have our phone. Like, there was nothing. I mean, like, set it aside. We'll get a text in the morning from Dan. He'll tell us what to do, and then let's enjoy our family. So that was, and I don't want to give Dan all the credit, but it seemed like it was by design. But it just lent itself to that relationship building process.
So did you find it hard to be unplugged?
It was we were very unplugged, and that made it again. You're working so hard because the challenge. Everything is real. You are literally working that hard. You are literally running that fast and trying to do athletic things that you may not be qualified for. So leave that one alone. So
Good job, Nicole.
the only time I did a good job was on accident. We can all say that. But I mean, you work so hard during the day, and so whenever you finally find them, you finally get in the habit. You don't want to pick up a phone. You don't want to be distracted by TV. You really don't care what's going on outside. You just know you're there. Your reward is that you get to meet these people, and they're your family. So they're so excited to see you and spend time with you, and you just want to get to know as much as you can in that time that you have. They were all so gracious and kind and loving. Oh my gosh, it was fantastic.
Even on the bad days, because you're going to have challenges. You're going to be frustrated. But the moment, even frustrating finding the address to your relative's house on a paper map, which all addresses are not on a paper map. Just want to let you know, for one you right now.
Most of them are not.
When you're so frustrated making wrong turns and doing this, and you finally get to them, as much as you're concerned about how that affected you in the challenge and the race, because every second counts, you're like, it's not their fault. They just want to meet you, and I want to meet them. So game's over right now. Clock stop, take a selfie, clock stop. Now we're with family. And so it takes a little while to, switch gears a little bit, and they're shocked too. I mean, think about it. People rush in your house with cameras and microphones and stuff like that.
Say, hi, how are you related to us?
I take a selfie quick.
Yeah.
It's actually part of the show, believe it or not. That's a part of the show that we really struggled with, because and yet we've just decided, it works. It's an awkward work, but it works. And that is that the very first thing that they're doing is, are you our relative? Yes. And instead of just crying and hugging, they're like, can we take a selfie? It's just, and that gets a little, for me, I'm a little, there's times when I look back and I go, and I just think, I don't know a better way to do it, because we quickly show, okay, now that that's done, there's a music change, there's edit changes, we change the way we edit, and it's now family time.
Could you do it at the first hug?
You can't, because then I don't have a way back in our offices to know that they hugged. The only way I know is you got to take that picture, send it back to me, and guess what? If you guys remember in season 1, there was one of the teams. It was actually Team Red. Interesting, in season 1, I think they might have gotten a strike that day because they couldn't get a cell phone signal out, and they were sitting there trying to send me their photo, proving that they had gotten what they needed to get. And she's dancing around the parking lot, going, "Please, could you please, cell phone towers work?" And she's running around, and they're just finally like, "Oh, this is crazy. We're probably going to get a strike because we can't get a cell phone signal out."
That, or you can't actually get a proper selfie.
It's very hard to take a selfie on a flip phone.
So go ahead. I mean, y'all got a flip phone? We try.
Yeah, no.
Okay, forward facing camera.
Yeah.
Or no, backward facing camera.
Yeah. The side.
You can't see it. With the click of a button, and you're like, I guess this is the right height.
Yes.
And you have to get the city name. There was probably 2 or 3 occasions that
They get sent in, and they get sent back, and you'll see in the show where it says denied. And they're just like, "Why is it denied? You know, we're both in it." "No, I can only see one little cheekbone, denied." And it's just, and I get email about those things.
The screen is this big. Like,
yeah, we're trying to look at it in the sunlight.
that looks good. Send
You
it.
think it works? There's no zooming in. There's none of that.
Yeah.
So, so anybody had to camp out this time or sit in a tree house?
Can't say.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Can't say. I can tell. You know what? Hang on. The answer is yes.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
There you go.
Okay. Gotcha.
We were
My
such.
question too. Do you get to put in a preference for your team color? Like, did you get to choose team red or just randomly assigned?
We were just assigned Team Red, and we took it. We were very excited about it.
Let me tell you, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. I think we'd be happy to do that. Here's how it works for us internally: is that the 4 teams. So the producers are our producers that work at Lensworks. They're Team Black producer. That's just how they're labeled. It's like your Team Black producer, your Team Blue, your Team Red, and your Team Green. And they choose, and they actually choose they kind of have, they're like, "I want that team." So I can tell you that Jamie was like, "I want that team." And others were going, "Well, I want that team." Jamie said, "They're my team." And Jamie was fighting for them, going, "No, I want that team." And he didn't know him. He didn't know him at the time. He was just like, "I want that team." So our producers kind of fight for the teams that they want to be with. We do have one of our producers, Stephanie. She's also our general manager. Stephanie, she has a real ability. She was with Team Green. She was Team Green every year. Yeah. And it just so happens that she has an amazing ability to. As you guys probably know, there's usually one team per season, at least one. The connections aren't as tight. They're there because it's like, hey, they got 2.5 million followers, or 2.5 million followers, or they're just really good on top. They're like, "Oh my gosh, how can you take your, his one hair is 4 feet in the air this way or what, I mean, there's a fine line, but that's part of a television show as well. Stephanie gets those couples, and she is assigned those couples, and she wants those couples, those teams. And then she is amazing at, you can't believe what she can do with the relatives that we find. I mean, we are stunned at how she is able to tell the story, because that's all we are. We're storytellers. And she tells the stories of those teams that you would think when we first start our research, it's like, well, this isn't going to be a real strong part of our, meaning that the family part isn't going to be real strong. They as characters are going to be perhaps our strongest. It's amazing what she is able to do. So she gets assigned that team because she's really good at finding really deep family connections where, quite frankly, there aren't deep family connections. And she is able to showcase that in an episode, in every episode, that I am just always, and I tell her, I go, "Stephanie, you're really good at this, whereas there are others, to your point, that fight for a team. And so the teams are assigned, the team colors are assigned to the producers, and then they fight for the team that they want to be out on the road.
We thought we got it because we're Team Nitro. That's our Hollywood name, is Nitro.
I will tell you that. No, I can't tell you that. I will tell you. How can I say this? Okay, You guys will love this thing. Jamie, who is their producer, he writes on the side, he writes and illustrates comic books. And I will tell you that you will clearly see on one of the episodes where you go, oh, you'll go, oh, that's really cool. Because now I know the backstory. And it's because Jamie was their producer.
So what made you decide to apply?
Yeah, what made you really want to go on? Was it just a combination of everything? Or?
It was a combination. We saw, it came across a casting call. Our son does some acting and modeling, and we saw it. As we're getting older, we really talked about it. He didn't know anything about his family history, medical history. And it's one of those things where you can kind of blindly go in and start doing a whole bunch of testing to see if you need to be concerned about anything, or you can ask questions of your family. And this came across, and we love to travel. We love really any adventure, and I was like, we could do this and find your family, and we could get a trip. We could do this.
We could do this. What is relative race?
Yeah, no idea. Yeah. So we sent in our video.
Before we even found out what relative race was, by the way, I'm just going to tell you.
Which is why our video was so bad.
And, yeah, it was.
They weren't accepted.
We sent it in for season 2.
We sent it for season 2.
They weren't accepted. Because
And then we went back and started watching the episodes. We're like, we'd really be good on the show.
That would be good.
Why did they pick us? Because we suck at audition tapes.
Yeah.
It was true.
Yeah.
When they found out the story as to why I wanted to be on the show is to find my biological father, then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. That's what your audition tape should have said.
We're like, oh, sorry. And then,
We did an audition tape in the Jeep with our dogs and say, hey, this is Joyce, Nicole, these are dogs.
Yay.
And we love
that
adventure.
was it.
I thought, hey, they look really familiar. And then some of the other producers were like, they auditioned they sent in a tape for season 2. And I'm like, these two? I said, well, but they're really good here. And they said, yeah, they weren't really good.
So how did your kids react to you being on the show
I should be
and the
this is
information?
my bad. You should each be talking. You got to get it really close to your.
The kids were like, huh? Because I explained this earlier that having a large family with 6 kids, well, that's large. 6 of us total, yeah. Yeah, don't add more. We're large enough as it is, so they see their family as their family. Grandparents, mom, dad, everybody, they see everybody. So they're like, ancestry, what is that? And I'm like, and then of course they knew the story about my biological father, and they're like, you should so do that. You should so do that. And I'm like, but this means we're going to be gone for a little while, and y'all got to watch over the house. Didn't know we were going to make them do it in the middle of a natural disaster, but hey, and so they were really cool with it. And I don't think they related much to it until we got back.
I still don't think they're going to understand until they see the show. We came back and we tried to tell them, but some of the stuff we tried to tell them, we had to do this as an activity one day, and they just look at you like you're making stuff up. They're just like, you did what? And I'm like, you're not going to believe this one thing that I did. And I'm like, you won't, and you'll know it when you see it. Because I'm certain they had to not even focus on me, but his response to how it happened. And
never mind, we told them we weren't going to have a smartphone.
Right. Yeah, that was
because our kids grew up in a smartphone era.
Yeah.
Like the first phone they ever had was an iPhone.
Yes.
On up to from the youngest to the oldest. So the flip phone, what is that? What's that technology? So that was another part. They're like, oh, so y'all do that.
I don't think they're going to understand it until they watch it. They won't grasp it until they see it.
And the one of the things that is always tough for us, and I'm sure it'll be a little surprising for them as it is for every couple, is we have thousands of hours of footage. It's all narrowed down to 55 minutes, and so, and we argue, and again, the producers will come in and fight for their stories at the day. They will come in and say, doggone it, you're not showing this, and that was really, really good. And they will come in and fight. And my business partner oversees all of the post-production and hears all those fights. And he's one of the producers as well with Team Black, but he oversees all the post-production. And then it really is interesting because then the last person that sees it before it goes to the network is me. And I come in with what we say are fresh eyes. It's designed by that way. They'll come in and try to make an argument to me, and I'll go, no, go to Tom, my business partner. I go, I don't want to hear it. I said, go to Tom, make your argument to Tom. I'm going to come in when it's all done. And so I'm the only one at that point in our whole company that hasn't seen a finished episode. And so I will sit down in the edit bay with everybody in the office, everybody that's been involved, and we go from all the edit bays, because they're all working on different shows, and I sit and I bring in a notepad and I watch every show and I start making notes. And I go, and so then I ask, why did you do this? I'll ask them. And I go, I argued for that. And I'll go, okay, but why did we do that? You know, and they go, okay. And I go, okay, do we have this? Well, we do, but we didn't want it. Okay, we're putting that in. You know, so because I have fresh eyes and I wasn't there emotionally attached to a certain team, meaning I really draw close to all of them. And so I'll go in, and so they will spend about 2 days making all those final changes, and then we send it to the network, and then the network has 5 days to make changes if they want as well. And they often do, meaning they say, look, we think this should be stronger music. Can you hang on his reaction? Does your shot from this camera have a better reaction? You know, I mean, they're really good to work with, and that's the flow of the show. And
meanwhile, we're praying. I hope they don't put that in there.
I really hope they don't put it in because I'm really ugly when I cry.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys will be a little bit surprised with, you know, like, and you might be happily surprised, but sometimes I get it. Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, we worked so hard on that, and we only saw 10 seconds of it. And it's like, yeah, I know, but it's the overall flow of the show, and there's 4 other teams, and you're trying to weave back and forth, and sometimes I actually feel a little guilty sometimes, because these guys have given up 12 total days when you figure travel days to come out, and there's all these media interviews before they start the race. We do everything to keep them apart so they physically don't meet. It's really hard because they're all in the same hotel at the host city. And then they roll out that day and they arrive, and we say, you're going to walk into this, Mark, walk into this. It's the only time that we rehearse anything is we just say, okay, when our cameras start rolling, we need you to roll in here, we need you to walk in here. It's the only time we control any situation is day 1 and day 10, because we paid all these fees to be filming in certain areas. So we control that situation, but it's for a very limited time. And so it's like, we gotta go, because they gotta get in their car, they gotta get to this. We know what they have to do that day, and so even though we control day 1 and day 10 a little bit, it's still kind of out of our control, because it's when it's time to go, it's time to go. Remember what you didn't see, remember last season when the very first thing I said is your first challenge is to find your keys buried in the sand somewhere here behind me, right? We buried the keys 4 inches beneath the sand. What you saw looked good on television. They actually spent 45 minutes looking for their keys, and they kept burying the sand deeper and deeper. We knew where the keys were, and we were like, this was supposed to happen like in 3 minutes. And finally, we were like, because the other teams had such an advantage, we finally said, okay guys, just come a little further towards me. Now stop, start digging there. And it was like, you gotta go, because we had to get them to their family. We knew how far they had to go. And it was like, it's gonna be dark. You got to go, find your keys. And we thought, yeah, we're not doing
And
that.
they're like, Dan, if you just gave us a metal detector.
Yeah, we should have.
Yes.
Is there any other questions for Team Red, guys? I'm sorry, I talked
I
to you.
did have one quick question. Just really quick. He obviously has a big story looking for his father and stuff. Did you expect, like, I know you can't tell us, but were you kind of thinking it was going to be more about him than that you wouldn't be really finding much of your family, or did you think there'd be a good split still?
My dad was a question. He's been married multiple times. I didn't know if I had other siblings out there. But more than anything, I wanted us to find his biological father. So I'm kind of like, yeah, it's okay if it's about me. That was the journey. I think I might have at times wanted that more than he did. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that's great. Yeah.
I can only add this to it without giving, and I mean this sincerely. There is a moment in one of the episodes, and the way it is put together, complete credit to our editors and everything else, there is a moment on Team Red where when I saw it, I just lost it. I just lost it. I watched that and I just went, that is some of the most touching. It's just really beautiful. You guys, I'm excited for them to watch it. It's really beautiful. So
We're gonna be obsessed.
Do you guys have a watch party all set up with your family?
We are debating still because we know we're gonna ugly cry the whole time. So yeah, we can't even get through. We can't even talk about it.
So we're trying to do something here in Utah while we're here for a viewing party on Sunday. I've learned to do this and wipe it on the jeans. We're trying to get a viewing party with some of the team from Lensworks on Sunday. We can't.
that would be so cool. If I was gonna be, I'm flying out. I'm going on a.
So we're working on it. We're trying to stay here in Utah to get the premiere. If not, we're going to go back home and just curl up to a big old box of tissues and some bonbons.
So we're recording it.
And,